Hey, y'all, what is going on? Lauren Sisler here with AL.com, week 10 of the SEC college football season. It is also rivalry week, saying that could be a little tough. Rivalry week, which means it is Alabama versus Auburn. We are finally here. We're going to talk about the Iron Bowl, but first we want to thank our sponsors. SEC Insider brought to you by All South Appliance. They've been with us all season long, and we appreciate them sponsoring this awesome segment, SEC Insider, with my buddy, Matt Zenitz. What is going on? Can you believe we're finally here?
Yeah,
Iron Bowl week.
Crazy.
It's we've been cruising right along. It's Thanksgiving week. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. Lots to be thankful for. And we weren't quite sure we were going to get to this point in the season. It's been a little tumultuous, some obviously cancellations, and things have been a little shifty. But we'll start off the top. The college football playoff rankings are officially out and about, and it's really strange because when you look down the list, with the records, they're kind of all over the map where, I'm just kind of looking down. So Alabama obviously getting the number 1 ranking, but when you look down, it's like number 4 OSU is 4-0. And then you look down the list and you got number 15 Oregon, who's 3-0. It's just, it's crazy.
Yeah. Some teams have played 3 games. Some teams have played 4. Some teams have played like 25. Just a crazy year. No, but even if you just look at the top 10, some teams have played as many as 8 games. Some teams have played as little as 3, I guess. Just crazy times.
Yeah, no doubt. And of course, I have to say, the College Football Playoff Committee has their hands full in trying to figure all this out week to week, especially with cancellation still being a possibility and not knowing what the future holds in these next couple of weeks, makeup games, this, that, and the other. We're still kind of holding on to the edge of our seats, I guess, a little bit. But Alabama, number 1, without any surprise. And so just kind of your thoughts on like that top 10. I mean, was there anything that really stood out to you that was a little, maybe different or, not expected? Or was it kind of what you were planning for?
The biggest surprise for me from an SEC perspective was just Georgia coming in at number 9. So Georgia's obviously a 2-loss team, had a quality win. Quality performance, especially from an offensive standpoint the other day against Mississippi State, with JT Daniels getting his opportunity and breaking out with 400-yard performance, the first 400-yard passing game for Georgia since 2013. But aside from that, in terms of Georgia being in the top 10 at number 9, there really wasn't any surprise. Texas A&M ahead of Florida, obviously. They're at 5. Florida's at 6. Nothing really crazy there, especially considering Texas A&M had the head-to-head win over Florida earlier in the year and won that 4-game winning streak since the loss to Alabama. And then with Alabama, I don't think anybody around the country really surprised that they're number 1, but something that was emphasized by the committee chairman, Gary Barta, was that Alabama was not only number 1 in the eyes of the committee, but number 1 by a seemingly wide margin over Notre Dame. And one of the things he referenced was the margin of victory. So Alabama's won every single one of their games by at least 15 points. The average margin of victory for them through the first 7 games of the season, 49-19, and obviously have 2 really quality wins over teams in the top 10, with Georgia being 1 and then Texas A&M being another.
And then it's worth noting Auburn coming in at number 22, so making the top 25 there in the first installment of the college football playoff rankings. And so, with the rest of their season, obviously they get Alabama this week. And we're going to talk about that matchup here in just a minute. And then as of right now, they get Texas A&M for that next week. I guess that technically the final week of the regular season. And then, of course, there could be the extension, or as of right now, there is going to be the extension into the following week to do the makeup game. So, just for Auburn to kind of get in there, were you surprised at all with where they landed, or was that kind of where you thought they would end up?
Yeah, I figured they'd wind up right in that range, obviously, around that area, maybe the exact spot in the AP poll, coaches poll. So that was expected in terms of Auburn. 3-game winning streak, obviously, but going into a really tough game this week against Alabama, where obviously they're a significant underdog. But Auburn, during the course of the last couple games for them, done some good things. Obviously, the big win over LSU, and then manages to pull away during the course of the final 2.5 quarters against Tennessee after initially getting down in that game.
Yeah, no doubt. And of course, Auburn kind of, was sort of on the tarmac, hitting that upward trajectory, obviously, before things got shut down against Mississippi State. And so, like Alabama and Auburn, both had to take 21 days off from football, or at least 21 days from a game. We knew they were putting in the work on the practice field. So, Iron Bowl 2020, what's it going to look like? What's that matchup going to look like? Just want to get your take on sort of what you're looking for on both sides of the football. And we'll just kind of start with, how does Alabama match up against this Auburn team? And maybe we'll start the Alabama offensive side of the football against Auburn's defense.
Yeah, so one of the key elements from Auburn perspective will be the run defense being better than it was against Tennessee. So even though Auburn won that game against Tennessee, gave up in excess of 170 rushing yards to Tennessee's running back Eric Gray, now going into a game where face a even better running game led by obviously Najee Harris and arguably the top offensive line in not only the SEC but the country, especially based on how coaches around the conference, including Gus Malzahn, have talked about them. So that'll be one of the key elements to keep an eye on, whether Auburn's run defense can be better than what it was in this past game against Tennessee. If not, a game that obviously already looks like a great challenge for Auburn will be even tougher to be competitive in.
And we obviously know from the offensive side of the football, this Alabama team has just been very, very difficult to manage, difficult to stop, especially through the air and obviously with all the weapons they come in with. On the other side of the football for Auburn's offense, obviously Bo Nix, showing some improvement this year, has gotten more comfortable. We've seen him take steps in the right direction. Obviously, early on, that there was some concerns just about his, getting flushed out of the pocket, not being patient, not getting his protection from his offensive line. But, I'd be curious to know one big key factor going into this, and I think we're all kind of pointing to this, is Tank Bigsby. Will he be available for this matchup? And I think that changes the entire scope of this matchup, at least, from the offensive side of the football. And if Auburn can put points on the board, your thoughts on that and where we kind of stand right now with his status?
Listed as questionable at this point. So whether he plays or not, even though Gus Malzahn, I think, used the word hopeful in terms of his availability, but obviously if he's not out there, that would be a big loss for Auburn, even though they do have some guys behind them in DJ Williams, Sean Shivers, who obviously have played a good amount before and done some good things, including in this past game against Tennessee when they had to step in and play an even greater role with Tank out. But for Auburn, one of the big questions I have going in, even if Tank's in there, is just whether Auburn's going to be able to do enough offensively to be able to keep this game competitive. So regardless of how great of a defense you have, it's going to be extremely tough to completely eliminate the scoring from Alabama's offense. And the question becomes whether you have enough offensively to be able to keep up. And I just don't know if that's the case with Auburn. So even if you look at this game against Tennessee, Auburn finishes with 30 points, but only 23 came from the offense, finished with less than 400 yards of total offense, coming off the game against LSU, where Bo Nix had probably the best overall game of his career. The numbers weren't at the same level against Tennessee. And then, again, if you don't have Tank Bigsby in there, it takes away arguably your greatest weapon from an offensive standpoint, which obviously would hurt.
Yeah, definitely makes it interesting. And even if he is good to go, even if he does play, how is he feeling? What's his percentage of health at that point? Is he going to be able to get the reps and the carries that we would normally see from him? And also, he's a contributor on special teams as well. So, that could certainly play into it. So Alabama opening as a 25-point favorite in this matchup. This game going down on Saturday, 2:30. I guess 2:30 on CBS. And it's interesting. I did a video with Mike McCoy, former Alabama receiver, and he was like, is this game on Saturday? When did they switch it up to Saturdays? So I guess, the Iron Bowl used to be played on Friday. So we have to remind folks it's Saturday, right? I don't know. Do you recall when they made the switch?
Yeah, it's been Saturday ever since I've been here, but
yeah,
it's only 2015. So.
Yeah, me as well. That's kind of been the drill. But of course, Mike McCoy playing back when Julio Jones was playing ball. So
Mike played back in like the late '80s. Mike's like 55 years old at this point. So.
Yeah.
It looks kind of young, but
Yeah, get that baby face. Well, Matt Zenitz, we appreciate you. Wishing you and your family a happy Thanksgiving, and to all of our fans and folks out there watching, happy Thanksgiving to you. Enjoy it. Be safe, be healthy, and enjoy this Iron Bowl. And we look forward to checking back in with you soon. And we also want to say thank you to our sponsors, All South Appliance, proud sponsor of SEC Insider, inviting you to visit us online at myallsouth.com or at any one of our showrooms across Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida.